Welcome to the home of football, welcome to another Monday evening and another fans forum, live and exclusive on Arsenal Player. Great to have you with us, particularly great to have you with us after yesterday's events in Manchester. I love the Arsenal, which means obviously that I love you too. You just have those days, don't you, where you're proud of your football club and actually proud of the blokes who are pulling on the shirt at the moment. It really was, there was so much to enjoy about yesterday's 1-1 draw at the Etihad. I'm not saying we're going to win the league. I'm not saying I wouldn't have been happier if we'd won. Of course I would. But, as I say, so much to enjoy from yesterday's game. So much to talk about too. And this is your chance to talk about that game and to look forward to Coventry in the Capital One Cup and Chelsea in the Premier League before next week's Fans Forum. This is the place that gets you on air to the Arsenal speaking world. All you need to do is pick up the phone. 0207 607 3200 is the number you need. 0207 607 3200 gets you straight through to the home of football. You can email us, fansforum@arsenal.co.uk, or you can tweet. We are at Arsenal. Hashtag for your messages is Fans Forum. As I say, lots to talk about on the back of yesterday afternoon. Fortunately, we've got a bloke who talks lots. It is the one, the only, John Cross from The Mirror. Delighted to have John back with us this evening. Thank you very much for finding time in your busy schedule, John, because I know there are tweets to be tweeted and, you know, launches to be attended, and I know you're the busiest man in show business, but he still finds an hour and a half to be with us every now and again on a Monday evening. Very glad that you've found an hour and a half to be with us this particular Monday evening. So pleased, in fact. Got a competition and a half for you. There will be plenty of people queuing up outside whatever retailer they choose to queue up outside for the new EA Sports FIFA 13 game, which is released this weekend. You can win your own copy of EA Sports FIFA 13 right now. All you've got to do is answer this question. Laurent Koscielny scored a memorable equaliser for Arsenal at the Etihad Stadium yesterday. I want to know, who did Laurent Koscielny score his first Arsenal goal against, though? Who did Laurent Koscielny score his first goal for Arsenal against? If you know the answer, need your name, need that right answer, need your address, and need to know whether you're going to be loading up PS3 or Xbox. All that information needs to go on an email to our dedicated competition email address, which is fansforumcompetition@arsenal.co.uk. That's fansforumcompetition@arsenal.co.uk. So a copy of the eagerly awaited, I think it's fair to say, EA Sports FIFA 13 to be won this evening. I'll give you a reminder on the competition question in due course. But right now, like I say, John, there was a lot to enjoy yesterday, wasn't there? It just, you know, obviously it was great to get the goal back, get the draw, but there were, you know, even just over the course of the afternoon, there was so much to admire about yesterday.
Yeah, I really think so. I think it was the day in which Arsenal proved, outside of the fan base here at the Emirates, that they can be genuine contenders this season. Really do.
Crossy, I'm not being, no, Crossy, wait, I'm not being funny. You know, I love the Arsenal. We're 5 games into the season, Crossy. Don't start that they're going to win the league stuff.
Tom, I never ever thought I would reach the day, I would ever see a day in which you were more negative than me about Arsenal.
No, I'm not being negative.
I'm not getting carried away.
I'm not negative. I've got this little thing going on in here. Don't worry about that, John. I've got this little thing. But I ain't coming out after 5 games and going, we're going to win the league. I just think...
Listen, I just feel that. I think, and I've always felt, if Arsenal could have kept Robin van Persie, and it's a massive if, as we know, then I think they would have won the title. I think that having sold Robin van Persie, and even having sold Alex Song, I think they find themselves with a dressing room now which is full of life, full of absolutely great characters. I think it's really buzzing. I think it's really there, and I think that genuinely, I think it's an all-round better team and squad. It's not reliant on one player to score the goals. I think they're working hard for each other. There's a nice balance to the team. They defend well in midfield. They're defending well as a defensive unit. I think so much credit has got to really go to Seabold a bit. And I just think they're an all-round better package. Do I think they're going to definitely win the league this season? No, I don't. But I think that they are going to be title contenders. I'm certain that they'll win some silverware this season. And I think the sooner the better that happens. But I think they'll be genuine title contenders. I think they'll go a lot closer than they have since maybe, I think in 2008. When they really were sort of pushed it along quite nicely, didn't they? They went close a couple of years later, I think, seem to remember.
To be honest, the season we lost the Carling Cup final, and it's all a horrible blur, but that season, we could and should have won the league. Let's talk to Sam in Hastings, shall we? Sam, you are very welcome.
I'd just like to talk about Theo Walcott's contract. There's reports of him wanting more money and saying that he won't sign the contract until he gets $100 grand a week or something.
Yeah.
Well, he denied that today, and he did actually seem genuinely happy in that big group celebration, which I love seeing when we equalised against Man City. So I do think he wants to stay and that he actually loves the club. But I'm just annoyed that players like Gervinho, who's constantly let Arsenal down last season, is getting chances up front when players like Theo Walcott are sitting on the bench for most of the game.
Yeah. Tell you what, Sam, that is...
Sam, hey, look at that. Wow.
That is no, that's a great call to start with, because you've got two different things. I'll talk about Gervinho in a minute. Talk about Theo Walcott, because I know you've been doing something with him the last day or two, haven't you?
Yeah, Sam, a few of us went and saw him this afternoon, actually. He was doing something with the FA, trying to promote sort of playing, more football, promoting it through Mars, that campaign. And I've got to say, today, I always like Theo. I think he speaks really well. Always a big admirer of him. I'm incredibly biased towards him. I think he's got great talent. I think he can do that job, Sam, that you mentioned as a striker. Today he sat down with us, and I tell you what, he absolutely spelt out how much he wants to stay at Arsenal. It's abundantly clear. I don't think, I think, listen, when I go in to see my boss for a pay rise, you always start at the highest, and basically you work out a kind of a compromise, don't you? I don't think that Theo Walcott realistically thinks he's going to sign for £100,000 a week. I also don't think he's been overly greedy. I think in the context of the Premier League and the England team, I think he's been realistic with his demands, I must say. I think he was abundantly clear today that he really wants to, one of his major ambitions is to start up front for Arsenal and really be given that opportunity through the middle. He's such a nice lad. You can tell that he's committed. He wants to stay at Arsenal. I really hope Arsenal can sort it out. I still think there's a really good chance that it will. Arsene Wenger clearly wants that to be resolved before January, when I think the chances of him then leaving, if it's not resolved by January, increase dramatically. But I think his heart is at Arsenal. I tell you, he couldn't have been more positive, Sam, about wanting to stay at the club, so I think the signs are good there.
Just quickly on the subject of Gervinho, and I suspect we'll come back to it over the next hour and a half, or during the next hour and a half or so. I've got to say, there was so much about Gervinho that I thought was absolutely fantastic yesterday. I thought his work rate was exemplary, his defensive work was exemplary, his movement was fantastic. I mean, every time he got the ball, Manchester City were worried.
Yeah.
And were double teaming him, and he was pulling players around our position. Trouble was, he didn't finish. If Theo had those chances, we'd have won that game.
Yeah.
But what would Theo have brought to the party what Gervinho brought to the party yesterday? In terms of work rate, defensive responsibility, just awareness of where to be when, that whole kind of... There were things yesterday that you think Gervinho does, and so he should, to be fair, because he's 25, 26, rather than, 22, like Theo. 22?
23.
Theo? 23. Yeah. So, you would say, so Gervinho should be better at those things, but I thought he absolutely ran his heart out for the Arsenal yesterday. But there were two or three chances that, if Theo had been on the end of them, he would have put them away.
No, listen, I do think that Gervinho came from Lille with amazing stats on his assists and his goals. And last season, I think people were a little bit disappointed with his finishing. Clearly, against Southampton, thought, wow, is this the plan? Sometimes, Arsene Wenger's signings down the years, just go through them. Yeah. The best ones have largely taken them. I think Perez is a great example. Often takes a season to really find their feet in English football, and maybe it's that for Gervinho. I'm thinking particularly the one where he overhit the ball and ran it straight into Joe Hart. That was a great one-on-one opportunity, and I do think Theo with maybe a bit of natural better technique, would have taken that down.
Well, I just think he's got that thing where he goes cold when he gets the chances. You know, I would argue that, you know, Podolski is an out-and-out goal scorer, but you know, Theo is a finisher.
Yeah.
He absolutely is a finisher. So there's a very interesting argument to be had on that score. There really is. And I think we just need to sort out the situation with Theo and we'll see what happens then.
Yeah, I do think Arsenal are really. I think they're trying to be sort of obviously responsible in what they offer and offer the right the right deals. And I think that Arsenal, I can totally sympathise with their argument. People panic when it's into the final year or into the final 2 years. I think in this occasion, Arsenal have made the offer.
Yeah.
Theo Walcott has made it plain that he wants to stay. I'd be so disappointed if they can't come to an arrangement, and I think they will.
Sam, thanks for the call. Connor is in Chigwell. Connor, welcome to the home of football.
Hello, thanks for that. I just wanted to say that how much I've been enjoying watching Arsenal these, because sometimes you watch them and you think that's not what a Champions League club should be at the moment. But I thought that the players that were brought to the club and the money that we spent that we wouldn't normally do has just brought an influence to the club, which has made us better overall.
Yeah.
Santi, Cazorla, what?
Sure. Connor, I think we've lost you there, which is a shame because you were just about to launch into one about the little man.
Oh, it's been terrific. Connor's great point there, and he's super. What a smashing signing! What a great bit of business that is. £12 million. Wow, they signed a super player who's won all before him with Spain, isn't he?
No, absolutely.
Signing. He could be the signing, to be honest, of the season for me, and that's why I know you're trying to calm me down here, but I just feel that he's taking Arsenal to a whole new level. I mean, if he's not man of the match in games, he's generally pretty, you know, in the 2 or 3 behind it, and he's just driving games, isn't he?
No, and by some distance, he's laying on more chances than anybody else in the Premier League at the moment. Connor, I think you've got it in one, mate. Absolutely right. Andy is in Cheshunt. Andy, welcome to the home of football.
Hi, Tom.
Hello, mate.
John, how you doing, fellas?
Hello,
how
Andy,
you
nice
doing?
to talk
Good.
to you.
Nice to speak to you guys. I missed you guys last week. I've done me back in, but it didn't stop me jumping up and down yesterday, let me tell you.
It probably sorted your back out. It sorts out...
No, it pulled it out even more.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right. Kill or cure.
But what I'd just like to say, okay, how absolutely thrilled I am for Carl Jenkinson. I'm over the moon with that boy. The improvement that he's made has been, it's chalk and cheese to come from Charlton playing a few games to all of a sudden get signed by the club that he loves dearly and that his family is supporting, and now he is, I mean, I would find it very difficult to put Sagda in. The way he's playing at this moment in time, I would find it very difficult. And, you know, with Kieran Gibbs playing so well, supporting, and obviously, I know Podolski didn't have one of his best games, but his work rate and his effort to make sure that we weren't conceding a goal was fantastic. And he, you know, I just can't speak highly enough of Arsenal's right again. How does he do it? I don't know how he does it. And I think he's given us belief that we can challenge the big boys. Yeah. We can really do it.
I think, you know, Andy, you're right about a lot of things, and fair play, Carl Jenkinson. I just think you need that at your football club. You need a clutch of those players, you know, who just are desperate to play for Arsenal. I really, and obviously he's coming on leaps and bounds. I mean, you can forget sometimes. Sanya, by some distance, the best right back in playing football in England. So we'll see. But certainly Carl Jenkinson hasn't done anything that makes you think, I need to get Sanya back.
No,
Sanya's a great right back.
Sanya is, I agree with you, he's the best right back in the Prem. But someone was tweeting yesterday, I can't remember who it was, that Carl Jenkinson, if there's one player in the Premier League who would literally run through brick walls for you, and it's Carl Jenkinson. No, and I've got to say, what a smashing lad. I've got to meet him, you know, a few times now, and he's a smashing lad, dyed-in-the-wool Arsenal fan. There's no one that wants to succeed more than him. He's so committed, he's so in love with the club, he's absolutely fantastic. it. He wants to learn, he wants to improve, you know. Even his dad's a smashing fella, you know, he really is. He's sort of fortunate to meet him a few times. And honestly, they're great. And sometimes, you know what, it's, you just take someone and you think, I would so love for him to make it. And I do think that slightly patronises his abilities as a footballer, because I do think in the start to this season he's shown that he's a really good defensive right back, and he pushed on yesterday his attacking motions as well. But if ever you wanted someone to succeed, because he's just such a top bloke, and it's Carl Jenkinson.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've got a bit of a history with right backs like that. Pat Rice was that kind of, just made it on, you know, was never gonna, you know, was never the most talented footballer in his age group as he came up through the ranks at Arsenal, and, you know, eventually found his way into the first team. But nobody ever wanted it more than Pat. And he succeeded because of that desire, as much as, you know, as much as the ability he had, he succeeded on that desire. And Carl Jenkinson, I think, cut from the same cloth, it has to be said. But Andy, thanks very much indeed for the call. Got an email from Jason Doyle who says Mertesacker deserved the plaudits yesterday as man of the match, but I thought he was closely run by Aaron Ramsey. I think we're really starting to see the best of Ramsey, and there is a lot more to come. My question is, do you believe that he can force his way into the side? Realistically, we are not going to see much of Jack Wilshere until after Christmas, so the opportunity is there for him. Thanks very much indeed for that. It was Aaron Ramsey's taken his fair share of stick on this programme, and, you know, just around the place generally. Played a lot of football last season, and basically his legs went last season. And I think people, a lot of people, I'm sure, were surprised that he started the game yesterday, particularly that he started the game in the position he did. But I absolutely, when it comes to picking men of the match yesterday, I thought Mertesacker was unbelievable yesterday. He was like, it's like a kind of tall version of Bobby Moore. Do you know what I mean? He had that kind of, you know, just being in the right place at the right time, just flicking the ball away from people. You know, I've always been a fan, and I just think, but he really, Ramsey was exceptional yesterday. Exceptional.
Right.
He's so direct. He's got that burst. You know, he really played well, and it was great to see, because he kind of put 90 minutes together for the first time probably since, I don't know, before February of last season.
Yeah, no, I agree. I do think Aaron Ramsey has. Sometimes he's been a little bit inconsistent. He was a bit inconsistent last season, and people do begin to wonder. I think poor Aaron Ramsey is I think he's a bit of a sensitive soul, and sometimes if we're hearing sort of the whispers and the criticism, believe you me, the player must be as well. And I think that it affects some players more than others. And I do think he's one of those that's perhaps, you know, been affected by that. And I think then to perhaps to see him start the season out of the team, realistically, you know, even when Wilshere is out still, it must be hard to swallow. And you're thinking, oh, where am I going from this? You know, is it time to kind of, you know, maybe get a loan somewhere to try and push on again? And yet he sort of parachuted into the team to do a very specific job. I thought he'd done terrific.
Well, what you want is, when you get your chance, you take it. And
I think it's so much about confidence. Let's be honest, I think the physical nature of his injury up at Stoke was devastating, but I think it must really rattle his confidence as well. And then when perhaps it takes a while to find your form, coupled with that confidence physically and mentally, I think it's going to take its toll. And yet when he produces performances like that, you know, yesterday, I think it's only a matter of time before he really delivers week in, week out.
No, he was exceptional. George is in Blackburn. George, welcome to the home of football.
Hello, George.
Did I just hear John Cross saying he thought Theo had a better technique than Gervinho? and he writes in a newspaper.
George, not far be it from me, and you know, obviously I look forward to your calls when Cross is on, because the more people give him the pasting, the better, as far as I'm concerned. But would you agree that Theo is probably a better finisher than Gervinho?
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure. No, because people talk about Theo being a good finisher. He's only a good finisher when he hasn't got a moment to think. When he thinks about it, when he's got an open net, he's not a very good finisher at all.
No, I don't agree with you at all, George. I think that opportunity in the first half yesterday was a perfect. Theo's actually great in one-on-ones when he does have time to think, actually. And
Yeah, when you think about it, Tom, look at the goal that he scored against Tottenham, the first goal.
Mhm.
He had a touch like Gervinho's first touch. He had a heavy touch, just like Gervinho's first touch.
Yeah.
Fortunately for him, it didn't go in front of him, it went to the side of him,
Yeah.
and he got there before the goalkeeper. So his touch was just as bad as Gervinho's.
Yeah.
You know. Now the next one, the chip from Alex Song, yeah, lovely. We're 4-0 up, and we're not 4-0 up. We're in front now. He's took it down, and he's banged it home. Lovely, no time to think. Boom. But I tell you, when he's time to think, he can miss with the best of them. And Gervinho makes opportunities and gives himself the time to think because he's made that little bit of space and he's given himself that little bit of time.
Yeah. You know, when we talk about technique, though, George, I just think sometimes with Gervinho arrived with those amazing stats, didn't he, for goals and assists. And I think that I was expecting a player, and I think often, as I was saying before, I think it does take a while for a player to settle in and into the Premier League. And I think we saw glimpses of what Gervinho was capable of, particularly before he went to the African Nations Cup. And then I don't think he finished the season particularly well. And some of his finishing, I think that was the poorest part of his game last season. And just that moment, I think his general technique is really good. But just that moment when he's got heart in front of him, and listen, you know, that finish against Southampton was something else, but with heart in front of him, any other area of the pitch, he takes that down and controls it fine. But in front of goal with the keeper, one-on-one, it's a heavy touch. And that's the difference, I think, when I talk about technique between Gervinho and Walcott. I like Tom, think that Walcott wouldn't have taken such a heavy touch and would have scored. And I think that's the difference at the moment. I think Gervinho is still a work in progress, and I think he's showing so many good signs of progress.
And everything else he brought to the game yesterday.
Absolutely,
you know, you cannot go.
What a start to the campaign he's had. Brilliant.
No, absolutely. And he's been scoring goals, to be fair.
Yeah.
Just didn't score any yesterday. But I just think, you know, and he is honest as the day is long.
Yeah.
You know, he just will chase and make life difficult for defenders when he hasn't got the ball. And yeah, I'm all for. But we could have the argument about who's a better finisher. I happen to think Theo, George, obviously doesn't. That's fine. But you're right. You're right to give Crossy a pasting. I can't even remember what you're giving him a pasting about, George. But you were right to anyway. Maria is in Holloway. Maria, welcome to the home of football.
Hello, Tom.
Hello. Is that the one, the only?
Yeah, no, not the screamer.
Oh, okay. Well, no, the scream. I thought you were going to give us a come on you Reds there.
I was going to say, have you moved to Holloway? Oh, Maria, you're most welcome too.
It's not the screamer.
It's good to have you with us.
It's
What you got?
someone who's locked on Twitter, Mr. John.
Go on, fire away, Maria.
I'd just like to make 2 points.
Yes.
The first one was that I really felt that against City, they weren't better than us. I was really, really impressed the way that we controlled the midfield. If it was Yo-Yo Torre against the RB, I feel he won that battle. If it was Santi Cazorla against Davos, I just feel like every ball that we had on that pitch, we won. And to think that they spent, $500 million on their squad, I wasn't even impressed by what was on their bench. Besides Balotelli and Tevez, who was on our bench.
Yeah.
I was just like, our bench was better, our balance with the team was better. I felt that, like many games before we played the big boys, we didn't get what we deserved in the first half. And in the second half, when we didn't play as well, we got the equaliser. So I was really happy with that.
Yeah, absolutely right.
But my, sorry.
No, go on, far away. You said you had
called in about Theo.
Yeah.
I'd just like to say, I think I probably agree with everything George said. But the thing about Theo is, he's had another news interview now, and he's got quotes out there saying he wants to be an Arsenal legend, and he wants to play up front. And it's just getting to the point where it's tiresome. Cristiano Ronaldo, Messi play on the wings, and they score goals. A centre forward scores goals. So I don't see why Theo really feels that he's learned everything on the wing, and he should be a centre forward automatically.
Yeah.
I feel like Theo, he's progressed. I must say, you were talking about his finishing. 2 years ago, what his finishing was and his first touch was very similar to what we're seeing from Gervinho at the moment. Even Gervinho, he's just inconsistent. He has been scoring the goal. He has shown that he has the poison for a goal, but he's just been inconsistent at the moment.
Yeah.
But I really feel like Theo.
No, Maria, we're just struggling with the line a bit, but I've absolutely got that. And to be honest, deep down, I'm with you on that. I don't think, I think stage Theo's out in his career, the ambition should be to play for Arsenal every week. Never mind where you're going to play. Just play for Arsenal every week. And, if Theo's going to end up playing down the middle somewhere, do you know what I mean? Hopefully at this football club, if that's going to happen, really good start would be to score 15 goals from wherever the manager decides to pick here. And actually that position that he's playing, I've said it before this season, just look at Podolski. Just look at Podolski and look at his career and look where he's played the bulk of his career. Fella scored a goal every 2 games, playing for one of the strongest international teams in the world. Don't worry about where you're playing, just make sure you're in the team every week.
I've got to break it down with Theo, because I do think that there's a lot of players out there in the Premier League who really ask for too much money, more than they're worth. There's a lot of players there.
I can't see it being about money with Theo.
No, well, exactly. And I think also there's a lot of players there that will run down their contracts and be happy to do that, and they will bluster and they will bluff until the end of that contract. They will also demand this and they demand that. And while Theo did say to us today, myself included, that he would like to play through the middle as a centre forward, I've got to say that
he's not saying I have to do that in order to stay at Arsenal.
I would like to. I came here as a striker. I'd love to be given that opportunity. He's an unassuming boy. He's not a greedy, guy. He really isn't. He's one of the nicest footballers you could meet. He really cares passionately about the club. He wants to stay. I really think that, it's really important that Arsenal fans don't jump on his back.
No, I'm not, because there's been a lot of kind of, we don't need Theo and all that. I just think, look, smashing. I think there's so much
asset for the club. It's a good asset.
Absolutely, and I think there's still more. I look at, people who should know better, really, but a lot of people kind of criticise Theo for this, criticise Theo for that. For me, what I want to see is what I've seen from Theo, which is he's getting better all the time. That every season he's got the one skill, the one part of his game that people can't teach, which is unbelievably quick. A lot of the rest of the game, he's having to learn as he goes along. And I look and I think every season he's better. And I think in another 2, 3, 4 seasons, we're looking for Gervinho, established international player with the Côte d'Ivoire. He's had a career in League One. He's come to Arsenal. He's 25, 26. I like to think where Theo will be at 25, 26 would be somewhere where we'd all be sitting around going, how could we have thought about him leaving this football club? I think he's given us more than perhaps he's given credit for, and I think there's still more to come. And the reason I think there's more to come is because I keep seeing his game improve from season to season. But Maria, thank you very much indeed for the call. Stan is in Exeter. Stan, welcome to the home of football.
Hi guys, it's
Dan.
Stan.
It's Dan, not Stan.
Dan, I do beg your pardon.
It's all right.
We like to call you Stan, though.
It's all right. Could I just make a quick point before I get on to what I called about?
Please do.
About Theo Walcott, he doesn't score a lot in front of goal, but he has got us out of some sticky situations. Because when he scored against Tottenham, we was actually losing, I think 2-0 at the time, and he come on and turned the game on its head. And I think that's what he can do. I think he's good at that. But getting on to what I initially rang up about, Jenkinson, I think he was outstanding yesterday. I think he deserves a big pat on the back, a massive pat on the back. My question to you: we've got great midfielders. We've got Santi, Cazorla, who's outstanding. We've got Theo Walcott, who you've just been speaking about. We've got Arteta. But where do you see Rosicky and Wilshere fitting in? Because you don't want to take any of those players out, do you?
Well, whether you want to take them out or not, Dan, Santi Cazorla will not come to play football in the English Premier League and play 40 games this season. If you ask him to do that, he will be on his knees by Christmas. I guarantee you. I mean, the fella obviously loves to play football. And, you know, on the strength of his performances, absolutely, you're not going to say, oh, he's struggling, let's have it. Absolutely not. But he will not play 40 games this season. And if we ask him to play 40 games this season, he and we will suffer. And that's where players like Thomas Rosicky come in. I mean, you know, Thomas will be a while back yet, as will Jack. But, you know, we've got this fantastic three at the moment who just complement each other so perfectly. Arteta, Diaby and Cazorla. In terms of midfield, it's the best there is out there at the moment. It's fantastic balance between the three of them. They will not play 40 games together this season. And if we ask them to, we'll be the ones to suffer as well as they will. You know, if they played every game into February together, they'll be on their knees.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
And so absolutely other players will get games and will have to get games. And it's not a question of kind of, you know, oh, Thomas Rosicky won't get a game because Santi Cazorla's so good. He'll get a game because we need to keep Santi Cazorla playing as well as he is.
Yeah.
And we need to remind ourselves just how important Thomas Rosicky was in the last 2 months of last season, because he was unbelievable.
He was absolutely terrific. I don't think you can have, you know, too many good players. I think it's a good point. And you know, I've got to say, there was so much fuss and hype over, you know, Nuri Sahin, you know, before he went to Liverpool, because Arsenal were undoubtedly interested in him, nearly signed him, and yet, you know, would he have improved? There's this thing that annoys Arsenal fans, you know, when Wenger says, well, we've got the litmus test almost is, I only want to sign players, and then I have to ask myself, will he have improved the squad? You look at Sahin, would he improve the squad? No, I don't think he would. You know, I think he looked a little bit slow. I think maybe that was a factor in Arsenal deciding to pass over on him. And you look at Arsenal, the strength in depth that Arsenal have got, those sort of players. Rosicky to come back, lovely creative player, can play at the point there. And then Wilshere, you know.
The thing with Sahin, though, and that is absolutely a perfect, I don't know, someone said earlier, I don't know how Arsene Wenger does it, do you know what I mean? That is absolutely a thing that sets this club apart and sets our manager apart, is that he doesn't, when he goes to the shops, Crossy, he doesn't go to buy necessarily what players are. He goes to buy what they could be. Now, I think you find majority of clubs, they go and buy what players are to fit them into what they've already got. And if they are what they have been previously, that's fine. They think there is not a player that comes to this football club who, either during an Arsenal career or if he moves on, does not become a better player. And I think that Nuri Sahin being signed by Arsenal and Nuri Sahin being signed by Liverpool is two completely different things. Completely different things. And I think it's, you know, Sahin had a fantastic season with Borussia Dortmund season before last. Real Madrid went and signed him, spent a lot of money on him, and then, for one reason or another, he didn't get games. So the fella's had a year in Madrid being made to feel like he wasn't as good as he thought he was. I think if he'd come to this club, then who knows what he might have turned into over the course of a season. And I think that was why Arsene Wenger went to sign him, because he saw I could do something with that. Personally, I would have been, you know, Benayoun was great, don't get me wrong. I don't see what's the point of Arsenal signing players on loan for a season, whether or not there's a buy at the end of it.
No, I just think Rosicky, you know, is yet to come back, you know, Sani is yet to come back, you know, Wilshere's, you know, on his way back. I just think that the depth there is fantastic.
Funny you should mention depth, John, because we'll get a chance to see that on Wednesday night. I think it's going to be a very, very interesting lineup. I know Arsene was talking about it today, and I think there's going to be, you know, there'll be one or two players around the place that we're very clear. Emmanuel Frimpong apparently is going to be on the bench tomorrow, which is great news for him. I think a lot of, you know, Theo Walcott may well get a game. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, you know, they've got games in their legs because they've not been starting. The Argentinian goalkeeper Martinez may get a run. I think it's they're always great nights, and I should say, by the way, we have got a special match day show on Arsenal Player on Wednesday. I think I'm right in saying it's the only place nationally that you'll get commentary on the game is on Arsenal Player. Arsenal versus Coventry in the Capital One Cup. There's no national radio station covering the game. It's not on telly, obviously, not a live game on telly. So if you do want to follow it, there's just one place to follow it, really, which is right here on Arsenal Player. Stephen Hughes is the guest tomorrow, and Hughesy will know his way around Coventry as well as the Arsenal, by the way, because he was club captain there for 4 or 5 years, so it should be a really good listen on Wednesday. So if you can't make it to the game, make sure you keep up with it on Arsenal Player. Meanwhile, Manuel is in Malmö in Sweden. Manuel, welcome to the home of football.
Thank you very much, and good evening.
Good evening.
Manuel.
First off, I would just like to congratulate the whole team and all the fans all over the world for the great game yesterday. It was wonderful to see Arsenal going away to the champions and really playing football, attacking football like we are, like we know how to do, and we all saw how difficult it was for Manchester City to cope with our way of playing, even if the second half wasn't as good as we wished it was. But I'm just very glad to see the harmony that exists in our team now, even if we lost players like Song and Robin van Persie, that definitely would make us even better. But I just like the feeling around the team. Everybody seems to be happy to be playing, and I don't have to worry about anybody going in and getting a red card because they're a bit reckless and this and that. I just love the harmony in the club, and I think we're going in the right direction. One other point that I thought about it yesterday, and I'm glad that you've already taken it up today, is the Theo Walcott situation. I personally believe that we should try to hold on to Theo Walcott and give him a chance to play as a forward, because he's been at the club. He came, I remember that when Arsenal signed Theo Walcott, I went to search Theo Walcott on YouTube, and I just saw some clips of him playing as a forward, and one thing that struck me was his pace and how he ran at defenders. And that's one thing that he doesn't do as well on the wing and he doesn't get in the crosses that we believe he should be getting in. So Theo Walcott in the middle, with some practice in the middle and playing week in, week out, he would definitely be a good asset for Arsenal Football Club.
Yeah. Well, as I say, Manuel, I've got to say, I think wherever Theo plays, he'll be an asset to this football club, and I'm very keen that it does get resolved and he stays here, whether that's playing down the middle or playing wide. But you're right to talk about that kind of harmony. And funny enough, you know, you said, obviously, the first half Arsenal kind of dominated midfield completely. We're outnumbered City, to be fair. Mancini, for whatever reason, seeing as we always play 3 in midfield, thought he could play 2. I don't know, you know, did he? You wonder sometimes. But anyway, after a half, watching us pass round his team, and obviously they got their goal, he changed it at half-time, and people said, oh, well, you know, Arsenal didn't play so well in the second half. I actually thought, in many ways, I found the second half more satisfying, because he went 3 against 3, and for 20 minutes, Manchester City stopped us playing, you know, and kind of didn't exactly have the better of it because they weren't making many chances, but they stopped us playing. But we just kept going and kept going and kept going. And in the end, about 20 minutes from the end, the tide turned again. And even though it was 3 against 3, we were still passing round them. And I just thought, you know, City put a different kind of obstacle in front of us. They'd got their goal. They decided to match us up in midfield. And eventually, we found a way round that. And, you know, first half, it was 3-on-2, and, you know, Diaby and Arteta and Cazorla absolutely ran the game. Yeah. City scored very much against the run of play. Second half, they made it more difficult for us. It knocked us back, but then we came again. Yeah. And got the equaliser we absolutely deserved.
Yeah. I thought the most important aspect of the game and of the draw was, I think, in previous seasons, let's be honest, I think sometimes when you go behind in such a big game against such high quality opposition, I think the mental strength is tested, and sometimes in the past, perhaps if the belief hasn't been there that yes, we can go on and keep playing, don't panic, don't rush it, don't force it, but just carry on playing as you are, and the result will come. And I think it showed a great mental strength to come back from being that goal down and to go on and getting that equaliser.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think it's good at the moment that balance has been found nicely. And I think that combined with a nice little bit of natural width, you know, often it's been Podolski sort of left, hasn't it? Oxlade Chamberlain has occupied the right on occasion. You know, Ramsey came in and did a slightly different job, you know, and it just shows that you know that there's adaptability there and sort of real sort of strength, I think, and lots of fluidity in the midfield that then can support whoever plays up front. And they're creating chances and making passes. It's really good to watch them.
No, it really is. Thanks very much indeed for the call, Manuel. Email from Joshi Prasad, who says, "Hi Tom and John, my question is about zonal marking. Yes, Manoni should have done better, but do we mark a man or a blade of grass?" I'm so glad you've asked that question. Go on, Chrissy.
Well, I just think for years, right, the sort of the zonal marking has been absolutely fine. It served defences well, and it's just not something that we've probably grown up with in this country, but it's evolved and it's become much more popular with coaches down the years. It's not suddenly a new thing at all. I think Arsenal in recent times have probably operated with a bit of a hybrid of the two, and I think that's probably the best system that you can have. So, you know, you combine the man-to-man with the zonal, but zonal is not something that we should fear or worry about. It's marking the areas and the space rather than the players. And on many occasions, you know where the player is going to hit if you do your research, and then basically, as long as you mark that player, it means then that the defender can come out and clear, rather than sort of being worrying about, oh, am I still with him? Both have got their own faults and strengths and weaknesses. I think fundamentally, you've got to say that Manoni has done really well this season. He's come of age.
He did well yesterday as well, but the goal is down to him. He shouldn't have come.
He shouldn't have come.
If he's on the line, he catches the ball. End of. It's nothing to do with zonal marking.
Absolutely. And then, you know, he also, I mean, I think Mertesacker was very comfortable in Germany by all accounts. With zonal marking, and I think that when he first arrived, particularly, you know, I'm thinking of Blackburn, they tried to introduce zonal too quickly, and it didn't really work, and I think it fell apart in that game. As you say, that City goal was not about zonal marking. It was about a goalkeeper making a very rare mistake on the balance of things this season. Shouldn't have come for that ball.
No.
And he just also, quite apart from the fact that it probably wasn't in his area anyway, he knew if he'd taken a look at the penalty box situation, he was going to get lost in a crowd of players there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he duly did.
Yeah. So the zonal marking thing, I know, unfortunately I couldn't make it to City yesterday, so I had the pleasure of watching the game on the telly, and you know, they were making a lot of fuss about this zonal marking thing. I have never heard so much rubbish in all my life, because I cannot remember in 6-7 years of watching the Arsenal how little I worry now about their ball situations. I just think, you know, all right, Man City scored from a corner. Other than that, absolutely not a problem.
Absolutely. Steve Bowles kind of, you know, obviously had a fresh voice. Wouldn't say it too loudly to Arsene Wenger, because I think he feels quite rightly so, well, hang on a minute, I've been coaching all these years and we've done pretty well, thank you very much. Yeah. Sometimes it's good to have a fresh voice. And I think Steve Bowles and Neil Banfield have really produced that and provided that this season. And it's just a different voice, a slightly different outlook. But this zonal marking thing, honestly, I think a big deal of it is made on Sky largely about 2 or 3 times a season when you concede a goal. If it comes through zonal marking, it's, oh my God, zonal marking is the evil of the world. But if it's done through bad marking, no one says anything.
I know. 0207 607 3200 gets you through to the home of football. We're here to get you on air to the Arsenal speaking world. You can email fansforum@arsenal.co.uk, or you can tweet. We are at Arsenal, and your messages need the hashtag Fans Forum. We'll try and crack through a few calls here. Richard is in Forest Hill. Richard, you're very welcome.
Evening, gents. How's it going?
Yeah, good.
Just wanted to say I was pleased with the result yesterday. Obviously, thought we should have won, but Gervinho had an off day, and Podolski just, I suppose, a little bit of burnout, but we'll see how it goes for the rest of the season. I know he's got a little bit of a bashing so far this evening, but I'm going to just mention a quick bit on Theo. I think a lot of frustration from the fans, and that's myself included with Theo, is that with Oxlade coming along now, and you kind of seen a player that's come in, got a left foot, got a right foot, got the pace, can run at players, cross the ball, can do so much, and yet Theo's been with us now for a few years, and he's still not quite there yet. It's kind of like, well, you've been here a while now, Theo, and then the Ox has come along. Why are you not? You were supposed to be the player that the Ox is and still developing into, and he's not quite there yet. So I just wanted to know what your kind of thoughts
I think we've been harsh on him, Richard. I really do. I think it's funny, as I keep
You're not comparing like we like, are you?
No, you're not. It's so different. And Oxlade-Chamberlain, there is a player there that will be a central midfield player.
Exactly.
He is made to play in central midfield. And also, Richard, I do think that people constantly overlook, I forget which way round it is now, please forgive me, but we were looking up the stats, and after interviewing Theo today, 12 goals, 11 assists last season. Sorry, what's the issue about him developing? I think that's a pretty damn good return.
No, absolutely.
You struggle to find many Premier League players with better return than that. So what's the issue?
Yeah, and he didn't get a full season. That's been the other problem for Theo, is he never gets a full season because of injury and what have you. But I do, fans get frustrated, and but I just. You have to compare like with like, and it's funny because they obviously get on really well.
They do,
Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain and Theo get on really, really well. And to kind of compare the two and to sort of play them off again, it's not.
No.
You've got to compare like with like, and you're absolutely right. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain will develop into a central midfield player, and Theo will, who knows, may develop into a central striker, or he may develop into a player who scores 15, 20 goals a season, playing down the right. Either way, happy days. Some of your tweets, you can tweet us anytime, at Arsenal, and the hashtag for your messages is fansforum. I'm playing Walcott up front this season. Gifted Amateur says he isn't a good finisher when he has time to think about it. He should start more, though. At Arsenal Fan 10 says yes in the Capital One Cup and see how that works. If good, playing there. If not, back to the right wing. At Arsenal LK, if he assures that he's staying at Arsenal forever and extends his contract, then he should be given a chance. And Sanjeev 706 says no, he's an inconsistent winger. What makes you think he will be a transformed and potent striker? He's fine where he is. At Mark CM says absolutely, Gervinho has already scored a bunch while playing in that position, so why not give Theo a chance? So that's about evenly divided between, yes, give him a go. It would be interesting to see. It'd be interesting to see who plays up front on Wednesday night against Coventry. It's always good to see that. I love those games, those League Cup games. And it would be an opportunity for Theo to play down the middle. I've got half of mine. He might play Olivier Giroud, though.
Yeah, he needs a goal, to be fair, doesn't he, really? I think he's shown good flashes, really.
Absolutely. He gave Man City a different problem when he came on. I thought he did really well when he came on yesterday.
Absolutely. And I thought, listen, I think he had a sort of in and out game against Montpellier. I was in Montpellier last week, and I just thought sometimes he was good and sometimes he sort of, didn't quite happen for him. He needs a goal.
Still involved in both goals, wasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Played a part, didn't he? So, and the one thing I would say away from home, particularly I think it's going to be particularly important in Europe, is the ability to hold the ball up and bring others into play. And I think that'll be really important. And I do think that I genuinely think he can really make it. I think it's all going to be about goals. He needs to bring goals to the table and to the
It'd be interesting to see who starts Wednesday. Do you know, it's strange, isn't it? We've been talking about Man City all night. Since the last Fans Forum, we have also won our first game in the Champions League away from home.
Tremendous.
Which means if we win our 3 home games now, we will top the group.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a really, really good, and there was some great football played that night, actually. In fact, I'm not sure that we weren't too good in the first half. And kind of,
again, it was coming from behind, isn't it? I mean, it's basically,
but it was a complete kind of freak goal. But it was
absolutely, it was a good comeback, really, really good comeback. And I thought they played ever so well. I thought the second half for me they sort of started badly, and that slightly set a tone. I think Diarra gave the ball away badly and cheaply, and yet I do think the biggest single factor was just a little bit of fatigue, a bit of burnout.
Yeah, maybe a bit of fatigue, and also I think they probably got to half time and thought, we're home and hosed here.
Yeah.
This will be 3 or 4.
I don't think, Montpellier were great, to be honest.
No.
So
couldn't finish.
No.
Roy is in St Thomas in Canada. Roy, welcome to the home of football. Good to have you with us.
Hi Tom, how are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you.
And John?
Hi, how you doing?
Not too bad. Hey, that was a good article on Walcott.
Oh, bless you, thanks very much.
Everybody gives you stick, and Tom just loves me to give you stick, but I thought that was a good article, and the guys should really sit down and sort that one out as quickly as possible.
Yeah,
Let's get the guy back on the field. I just love to hear the Emirates shouting out, Theo, Theo, Theo.
I agree, Roy. Yeah, no, absolutely. No, thank you.
Anyway, I called not really to talk about the Man City game, though I was very, very pleased with the whole game. 1 or 2 brown spots, if you want to call it, but basically that midfield of ours is amazing, and we've got so much more to come back, as Tom keeps on telling us. Rambo, I thought, did a super job, even though he was up front. But the season so far is shaping up much, much nicer than any season we've had in the last few. And my feeling, and of course I'm going to tell you this, I'm always very, very positive about my team. I think we are going to do very well this year.
Mm-hmm.
We have the depth. We've got a couple of little problems to sort out. Teams always have little problems to sort out.
Roy, we're getting a funny old click in there that's happening somewhere between us and Canada, but absolutely got the point. It's very interesting you said that, and Maria mentioned it earlier, actually. Look at, obviously Man City have spent £1 billion putting together the squad they've got. Don't know how much we've spent, but it sure ain't £1 billion. And actually, you looked at their bench yesterday, looked at our bench. Obviously it's kind of almost become a truism, Arsenal haven't got the strength in depth, But at the moment, we've got a fairly fit squad. Obviously, we've got Wilshere to come back, we've got Emmanuel Frimpong to come back, we've got Bakary Sagna to come back, we've got Wojciech Szczesny to come back, for that matter. So that's only 4 key players missing, which is happy days for the Arsenal. But even so, we put out a team that absolutely, I thought we deserved to win the game yesterday. A point was the least we deserved. And I looked at our bench, looked at theirs. I didn't think, God, look what they can bring off, all right, I'd love to see Carlos Tevez on our bench. Beyond that, I just think, we had Chamberlain, we had Walcott, we had Giroud, we had, I think there really is, and more than we've had for some time. Let me remind you about tonight's competition quickly. They will be queuing down the block, as they say, come the weekend. I think it's Friday it's released. That is EA Sports long-awaited FIFA 13 game. You can do all that pre-ordering and queuing down the street and all that business if you like, or you could take the chance to win a copy of FIFA 13 right here, right now. All you've got to do is answer this question. Laurent Koscielny, of course, scored the equaliser for Arsenal at the Etihad Stadium yesterday. But who did Laurent score his first Arsenal goal against? Who did Laurent Koscielny score his first goal for Arsenal against? If you know the answer, get that, your name, address, and whether you're looking to play on a PS3 or an Xbox. Get it all on an email to our dedicated email address for competition entries, which is fansforumcompetition@arsenal.co.uk. That's fansforumcompetition@arsenal.co.uk. Good luck with that. In the meantime, 0207 607 3200 is the number you need to get through to the home of football and get on air to the Arsenal speaking world. Here's Johnny in Harrow. Johnny, welcome.
Mike, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I really liked what I saw yesterday. I'm buzzing today.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Great performance all round, really. It's just a shame we couldn't get the 3 points, which I actually think we deserved.
I think we were worth all 3, yeah.
But, going up against the champions, it's never going to be easy, especially on their patch. So, I think a point was the least we deserved, really.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to call up about, and I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I'm a little bit concerned about Giroud and the message he might be getting from Wenger, really. We bought him as a striker. Admittedly, he hasn't had the best of chance. He's fluffed his lines right at the end of a couple of occasions. But I think he's shown more than enough to show us that he's capable and those goals are going to get in. But what I'm really concerned about, and we know how strikers can be, and how temperamental they can be, and how it's a confidence thing with them a lot of the time. But is the message of sticking Gervinho up there going to affect not only him but also Theo as well? Because Theo's been come out and said, look, I want to play up front. Wenger's almost ignored that and he stuck Gervinho there. And, I think, like you said, when he came on yesterday, he really gave, City a bit of a thought. So, maybe you should have started with him yesterday and see how he got on, really. I'm just a little bit worried about, if we're going to have another situation like we had with Shemek, because, we've shown what lack of confidence in him has done to him, really, and he's not getting his chance now.
What do you think?
I can see your point, Johnny. I must say, you know what really sort of kind of struck me, just sort of opening day and maybe opening sort of couple of games, was that Giroud, I didn't feel that. I think Giroud's obviously a big target man, big centre forward, and if you're gonna bring him in, and they've done so for an awful lot of money, you've got to play to his strengths. And I don't actually think that at the moment Arsenal are playing with a great deal of width to kind of utilise that and put in the crosses for a big man to either head for goal or basically knock down and utilise that. I think that's one of perhaps the failings at the moment. Is about playing to his strengths, getting the best out of him. I think it takes time always for a player to come and bed in. I do think the longer...
5 games and he's only started, 3? Has he started 3 Arsenal games so far?
Yeah.
Started at Stoke, started at Liverpool, started in Montpellier, and those are the only games he started.
That's right.
It's a little bit early to be worrying about.
Right. I do think you're
But what Johnny says about the message is...
I see that, but then the only thing I would say about that is I agree that it could be a bit demoralising for him and maybe shake his confidence a bit. Having said that, I do think that the one thing I would say about that is that they're playing in a completely different philosophy. If I was in a way, if it was Giroud and suddenly I had a centre forward who's really at the club starting ahead of me and playing in the same way and preferred ahead of me, then I'd be a bit more worried about the sort of actually playing second string at the moment to a different philosophy. And I think it's clear that Arsene Wenger is trying to utilise smaller forwards, use a bit more interplay, you work the ball a bit more around the box, and I think it's paying off at the moment.
I mean,
the style of play. But I think Giroud, the one thing that will settle his nerves and calm him down is a goal. It couldn't come soon enough.
Yeah, I mean, I think Johnny's right. I think we've seen plenty to see to judge that we've got a player there. We've absolutely got a player. And for Southampton. Had you ever seen Gervinho playing down the middle for Arsenal before? No, me neither. I thought maybe I missed that game, but I'd never seen it. It worked.
Yeah, it did, yeah.
So end of.
And I've got to say, someone told me about that on Saturday morning. I was thinking, I don't know about that one. I think Wenger's lost the plot there. And you begin to wonder, don't you, and think, is that the right thing to do? Because Gervinho, let's be honest, last season wasn't great in front of goal. And you begin to think, where's the goals going to come from? And end up absolutely destroying Southampton.
No, absolutely.
Incredible.
Johnny, thanks for the call. Sam's in Finchley. Sam, welcome to the home of football.
Hi Tom, hi John, how are you?
Sam.
Good.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about the goalkeeping situation and Manone.
Yeah.
I think he's done well recently, but he just hasn't totally convinced me, and for me, Szczesny's still number 1 when he comes back. Just wanted to get your take on the situation.
Yeah, listen, I'm a massive Szczesny fan, as you probably know, Sam, and I've got to say that I do think at a football club, and it's not just about sort of kind of, it's not just about the number 1. Look at that, what a great save there, and absolutely fantastic, absolutely brilliant. I think so much. Look at that save. I mean, again, that's fantastic, isn't it? Well, I just think he's a big character, Szczesny, and I feel a bit sorry for Szczesny because at the end of last season, doubts began to creep in about Szczesny because I think he was playing injured. and he played bravely on, and he saw out, you know, at the end of the season, helped Arsenal finish third. He played a massive part in that.
Absolutely.
And yet he was not at his best in that final month, and people began to wonder, you know. But the problem is that he carried on playing because Arsenal don't have, or didn't have, real good quality backup, I don't think, because Fabianski was, you know, perhaps injured a little bit and not at his best level of form. And I just think a goalkeeper, so many times, a really good top-class keeper, the most important person to him is the competition, because it provides good competition to spur you on. He knows he's got to keep his standards high. He's also got the safety and the knowledge that he's got the good backup, you know, behind him. And they are a little bit of a union, they are a little bit of a club, the goalkeepers at any football team. And I just think that at the moment, Manoni, he's improved so much from the player that made the you know, mistake in Olympiacos, and he's come back a better keeper. But I do think that Arsenal needed to sign another keeper, because I think Fabianski wanted to maybe get away, and you know, you just need better competition, I think, and you need pressure on the number one to keep his standards high, and I don't think Arsenal necessarily have that at the moment. And I think that's one area. Squad is great and lots of depth elsewhere, but I'm not sure whether the goalkeeping is quite as strong as it should be. So I do think it's a really good point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on Szczesny. Although he was actually playing injured, funny enough, he came back into the team against Southampton, made the rick, obviously, for the goal, and the second half was playing injured all second half. I don't quite know at 4-1 up.
He injured himself in the warm-up, didn't he?
Yeah,
I just don't quite understand, you know, sort of why. You know, I think Arsene Wenger actually sort of said to us, you know, before the Montpellier game, you know what, I took a gamble, I took a bit of a risk. And I've got to be honest, I don't know whether it. Yeah,
and I wonder whether it was a gamble.
I
wonder if it was a gamble he needed to take. I mean, you've got to feel a bit. You know, you've got to say, well, Manoni's played. He hasn't conceded a goal. What's he done to get dropped? You know.
Yeah.
But well, we shall see. But thanks very much indeed for the call. Some of your comments via Facebook. You know all about how to do that. I'm glad you do. And those comments are: Sasha Daniel has come through to say, Carl Jenkinson came of age and impresses me every time he plays. Always had doubts about him, but I guess that I was wrong. In Wenger, we trust. Darren Jason Ross says, I wasn't a fan of Carl Jenkinson last season. His ability, I felt, wasn't good enough to be a big team, but this season he has been a revelation. Quick, solid, and a key player in the back four. Nwakaji Ayadoli says, Carl Jenkinson is the most improved Arsenal player. Fantastic display from the young lad. And John Kojo Dadson says, bravo to Jenkinson, he has really improved, but for Theo Walcott, he can play forward if only he becomes concentrative. I don't think it's a word that exists, but it doesn't.
That's an Arsene Wengerism.
No, I'm liking that. No, wait a minute, let me get this. Concentrative. I'm liking that. That could well enter the, that could well get into the dictionary in 4 or 5. Concentrative, because we know exactly what he means. The thing with Jenkinson, and people saying, oh, I wasn't sure how good he was, and, you know, let's make no mistake. Arsene Wenger didn't go, oh, that lad's going to play 500 games for Arsenal. Carl Jenkinson was a gamble.
Yeah.
You know, he's gone and nicked him from Charlton for next match. He's only played 6 times for Charlton.
Yeah.
You know, most of his football had been in non-league. Where was it, Hayes and Yedding?
Yeah, and you know what, also, he played it all across the back, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, no, because he's built like a centre-half, so absolutely.
Terrific.
But I just think Arsene took the gamble, and it's a gamble that we're watching pay off, and that's...
Well, the thing is, I think, about Jenko, is that basically he was thrown in a little bit to the Lions at the start of last season, particularly at Old Trafford. And the thing is that I think he's come out the other side. You know, what a testing time.
Yeah, it's kind of make or break, isn't it?
To start so many games and to play so many games in his first season, and he's come through it, and I think it's absolutely terrific. You know, I've seen so much love for Jenko in the last couple of days, you know, on Twitter and stuff. It's superb.
Yeah,
great.
We're going to let's take a couple of calls and just let you have your say, and we'll kind of back it up at the end. But we, you know, me and Crossy get started. No, we struggle. Stuart first is in Paul. Stuart, welcome to the home of football. What you got for us?
Oh, welcome. I've just been thinking whether it was better to get these big tests out of the way at the beginning of the season. We've been to Liverpool, we've been to Man City now, we've got Chelsea on Saturday, and by game number 10 we would have played Man United.
Yeah, it's good, but no, I absolutely take your point, and you play what's in front of you, but what I think that, you know, the Anfield game, was kind of, because it is a new team. It is a new team that's obviously doing things differently. They're different kinds of characters. We don't any longer have this one kind of talismanic figure that everything has to go towards if we're going to be successful. So you need, every now and again, to prove to yourself that it works. And Anfield was a step in the right direction, and yesterday was another step in that it works.
Yeah.
We can do this.
Yeah.
And that's, and in that sense, it's a really good point from Stuart, just because, it's saying, get these games against the big, because the games against the big ones are the games that will make this team grow.
Yeah.
With the best win in the world, beating Southampton 6-1 will not grow the team. Drawing 1-1, in those circumstances, coming from behind to get a draw away to the champions, that will grow this team, all right. Peter's in Essex. Peter, welcome to the home of football. Peter, are you there?
Yes, I'm there. Hello.
Yeah, far away, Peter.
Evening, Tom. Evening, John.
Evening.
What I want to say quickly is obviously turning around and some of the comments has been making. I think the one thing that gives me that little flutter, which I can turn around and say I think Arsenal have got a good chance, is the bench.
Yeah.
Because there's one thing that I watched last year when I saw Arsenal playing, and like you said, Ramsey's tired legs and a few of them out there looked tired. When I looked at the bench, I just couldn't see what we had that was going to make a big difference.
Yeah.
But this year, what a cracking bench we've got.
Yeah.
And I think the games where we struggled last year and we ran out of steam, we've got just the right players now to put on.
Yeah.
So I'm actually saying, yes, I think we've got a good chance, and I think we're going to see some silverware this year.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement with you, Peter, on both points. I do think they've got a great chance of trophies. I think the sooner the trophy is won, the better. It just takes the pressure off. It just stops the conversation, doesn't it? And the bench is spot on, because I think Oxlade-Chamberlain, Walcott, Giroud provide attacking options. They also provide pace. They can inject pace into a game. Just taking them as an example yesterday. And then I do think there's quality in midfield, so you can make a change. I think there's also, good quality backup, left back, for example, Santos, comes in for Gibbs if necessary. Centre halves, Mertesacker, Koscielny, Vermaelen. Terrific. They're good options there.
No, absolutely. Peter, thanks very much indeed for the call. It is, it is always trotted out, isn't it? Oh no, Arsenal will struggle because they haven't got as big a squad, they haven't got as good a squad. Just at the moment, the squad looks all right to me. I think we've got a really strong group.
It may not be as big as some, title contenders, but sometimes, I think it's healthy not to have it absolutely ridiculously ramped up, because otherwise you can't. I don't think you can keep an absolute massive players like Manchester City, for example, happy. How do you keep those sort of egos and big characters happy? Fact is, you can't.
Fact is, I don't care. Chris is in Milton Keynes. Chris, welcome to the home of football.
Hi Tom, hi John, how you doing?
Hi, hello Chris.
Yeah, not too bad. I've got 2 points really.
Yeah.
First of all, I think come January, we need to get a striker like Llorente and someone to replace Arteta when he gets injured. If we are to challenge on all fronts.
Yeah.
Okay, and secondly, I want to talk about Walcott. I think as much as he wants to play in the striker's role, he has to be patient. Wenger knows what he's doing. Wenger knows what he's capable, Walcott is capable of doing. He's only 23.
Yeah.
He has to just be patient. Bentner had the same issue, didn't like playing on the wings, wanted to be the main man, and he's gone from loan after loan after loan, and we'll probably end up selling him, but Walcott just needs to be patient. And if he says he loves Arsenal that much, he'll just play wherever he's given, and eventually he will get his role.
Yeah. No, I make you right on that, and the Arteta point is a really good one, because he is, I'm saying, Santi Cazorla, he's not going to play 40 games this season. This one, Mikel Arteta, we need him to play 40 games this season. He's got, he's the one that just knits the whole thing together.
I hope Arsenal's got the old cotton wool ready, because you need to wrap him up in cotton wool and get him ready for every single game. He's so important. And I'll tell you what, I do know that basically he's obviously vice captain, and I do know that it came down to quite a close call. I think it would have been a big thing to sort of like Vermaelen, obviously vice captain last season. So when Van Persie left, there was a big argument there for Arteta, because he's such a good influence on the pitch, in the dressing room, mature individual. it's
He's a
terrific.
captain who's not a captain. Don't worry about that.
And you need a few like
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
And he's terrific. Absolutely terrific.
But I do take the point. I'm worried about what happens, but let's not worry about that for the time being. You just remember that, you know, West Brom away was the only game we won last season without Mikel Arteta in the team, and that does tell its own story. However, there are a few more bodies about the place than there were last season in those central midfield positions. Let's have some tweets. You can tweet us anytime. We are at Arsenal. The hashtag for your messages is Fans Forum. On Arsenal squad depth, as we're talking about it, Reece P says, at Reece P says, the depth is unbelievable when you think about it. At Kieran London GY says the squad depth in midfield is brilliant, less so up front. We have only one out-and-out striker in Giroud. At J Kadan says, I think that our depth will become very helpful as the various cups come up. We will be able to rest important players. At Swed Journalist says, the biggest difference between this team and the Invincibles is the world-class striker. We need a player that scores 20-plus goals in Premier League. And at Just to Sign, Arsenal have got more technical depth and are more cohesive defensively than last season. All good points, well made. The 20-plus goals a season it's hard to argue with. And that's why, you know, you look at it and you go, we've done really well. Be great if what's-his-face was still on the premises.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that he didn't watch the game yesterday afternoon, actually, and think to himself, it's a pity I'm not still on the premises.
Yeah.
But there we are.
I think they're one striker light, and I think that's...
Although Gervinho playing down the middle is something none of us have thought about.
No, absolutely. But I do think that, I actually think come the end of, or towards the end of August, he was still thinking, you know what, if I can sign a striker, I'd like to do that. I do think that was on the list. But, you know, you can't get them all, you know, and basically... I reckon he might make a move for a striker.
I don't mind buying strikers in January.
No, he doesn't. And I think that's in his
possibility.
Mind,
Simon is in Northern Ireland. Simon, welcome to the home of football. Good to have you with us.
Guys, glad to see there's some positivity going on.
Well, how could there not be? How could there not be after yesterday?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Got two things to ask about. The first one, what everyone's been getting on about with Theo going to the middle. I mean, I normally completely trust Arsene, but I don't get how you put Gervinho in the middle before Theo. I don't get what Gervinho has that Theo doesn't that justifies him being there before him. I mean, I think the biggest criticism in the past with Theo has been his finishing, and that's improved, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you on that one, Simon. I think, listen, I think you can't knock Gervinho too much because he was outstanding when he surprised us all by playing in that central role against Southampton. He didn't have the greatest game, in my view, at Man City. I think, blimey, if they were completely on top of their games up front, Podolski and Gervinho, the game would have been out of sight. Because I think in every other respect, Arsenal played exceptionally well. But I agree. I think it was a little bit surprising. I go back to that one that Theo played and started against Bucharest in the Champions League here. And I just think, wow, what a performance that was. And that shows that he can do it against decent opposition, albeit Arsenal ran out extremely comfortable winners in the end.
Tell you what, though, maybe Simon, maybe John Cross, maybe everybody is saying give him a go down the middle. Maybe the sight of Gervinho playing down the middle makes it more likely. We'll see Theo. If it works for the team, having that kind of player, a player who's not an obvious, is built obviously like a centre forward to play down. If it works for the team, then that player could be Theo. If it could be Gervinho, it could be Theo. Ahmed is in Highbury. Ahmed, welcome to the home of football. Good to have you with us.
Thanks. How are you guys today?
Yeah, good. Excellent.
I just want to talk about Theo Walcott quickly and how before he came to Arsenal, he was supposed to be like the best new English talent and how bigly he was hyped up. And I don't think Arsenal fans ever quite got over that. And they're expecting him to do all these amazing things and score 30-plus goals when he's not that player. I think they need to accept him for what he is. And if, he gets 15 goals, 15 assists, that's good for him.
Yeah.
He's not a Messi, he's not a Ronaldo, and they compare him too much to players like Chamberlain. And for me, Walcott is 23 now and Chamberlain's 18. Unless you're a young Messi or a young Xavi or something like that, that 18-year-old is not going to be as good as a 23-year-old. His experience and what he knows how to do on a pitch is not nothing to compare to an 18-year-old or a 16-year-old.
No, Ahmed, I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right to kind of stick up for Theo. You know, there's always got to be a problem, hasn't there? And when things are going well, there's always got to be a problem, and apparently Theo's the problem at the moment. But I just, you know, you take your choice, don't you? And really, for me, it's a classic situation. We have got to a situation where perhaps Arsenal supporters are going, oh, well, don't know, sign your contract. Hey, look, Theo's there, Arsene's there, the club's here. They'll sort it out.
Yeah, I think they will.
Or they won't.
Yeah.
I hope they will.
Yeah.
But, you know, I just look at Theo. I really like what I see. And as I say, I think his game has developed. And for me, particularly because he came to organised football so late, relatively speaking, came to organised football so late, I don't see there being any danger of him stopping development. I don't think what you see now, don't think about the next 5-6 years as that being what Theo does. I think Ahmed said about scoring 15 goals. I think that would be a huge kind of benchmark for Theo.
Yeah.
To get a season where he scored 15 goals. Yeah. That would be you know, and I think I want him at the club.
Yeah, absolutely.
Want him at the club.
Absolutely. Listen, you know, last week I wrote a column and I sort of said I gave the chances of him staying about 50-50. And I was having a little bit of a downer because Arsene Wenger sort of just dropped a couple of little hints that basically the club want him to sign, but they want him to sign before January, and they're certainly turning up the pressure. Having spoken to Theo this afternoon, I'd give the chances of him staying much higher than that, because it is so clear. I knew this before, but it is so clear that he wants to stay. And I can't stress enough how much he loves the club. And, you know, the majority of the calls tonight have been about Theo Walcott. But
it's funny, isn't
trust me, but trust me, honestly, don't doubt that he wants to stay.
No,
he really
absolutely.
does. He really does.
Trusting Crossy. Hey, just a reminder, tonight's competition is quite a special one. We've got a copy of EA Sports FIFA 13.
It's terrible goalkeeping, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
It's good finish.
Does Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain worry about? Yeah, you were probably being the goalkeeper. But all you got to do to win a copy is out this weekend, and there'll be people queuing down the street. You don't need to do that. You can win one right here. A copy of EA Sports FIFA 13 to be won. All you've got to do is tell me the answer to this question: who did Laurent Koscielny score his first goal for Arsenal against? If you know the answer, we need that answer, your name, your address, and whether you're planning to play the game on PS3 or Xbox, and email that to our dedicated email address for competition entries, which is fansforumcompetition@arsenal.co.uk. Good luck with that. We'll have a winner along very shortly. In the meantime, 0207 607 3200. Whatever you want to talk about, as long as it's the Arsenal to do for Crossy. I do beg your pardon, John Cross from the Mirror. And myself, Toby is in Kent. Toby, welcome to the home of football.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Yeah, good.
Hello, Toby.
Good. Just really want to talk about the performance last week on Sunday.
Yeah.
Really. I was just very impressed with the way the team is defending as a team. You know, in this season. You know, it's really good to watch. You know, I mean, Arsenal of 2-3 seasons ago, anytime we get attacked, you just always feel we're going to concede. But somehow you don't have that feeling again, you know, so it's refreshing. You know, I know a lot of people, and a lot of other people would think we're talking about the attacking options and how, you know, Giroud is not performing, or how Gervinho is missing a lot of chances. You know, that's like another issue on its own. But I mean, I'm just happy with the defense, and I'm just glad. You know, because it's something I've been waiting for a long time.
No, Toby, it's a really good point. Thanks very much indeed for the call. It's, you know, the last few seasons, Crossy, maybe I'm imagining, but I've had this thing that there's been moments between when we've got the ball and when we haven't got the ball, there's kind of been this horrible pause where everybody kind of goes, what am I supposed to be doing now? I don't really like this bit. I like it when we got the ball, but I'm not quite sure what... And it just seems to me that as soon as we lose the ball now, people know exactly what their jobs are, how to go about getting it back again as quickly as possible. Now, I hope we've got the energy, because it takes energy. I hope we've got the energy to keep it going all season. But that is, you know, obviously the back four is doing very well, and Steve Bolt's done great, organising one thing and another. Players individually are doing very well. But the fact that as soon as we lose the ball, there's a team defending.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is another, for me, is a huge plus. That is the reason why Gervinho gets games, because I think he's actually very good when we lose the ball.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
You know,
I agree with you. I do agree with you. I think it's a great point, really. It's the sort of, you know, it's the pressing game in many regards, in the midfield too. Because basically you've got such an out-and-out creative midfield playmaker in Cazorla.
Yeah, but who don't mind attack well.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
I'm not knocking his work rate, but sometimes if he's pushing forward and then you've got the width going forward and then you've got the, you know, midfield, if the front man, if that breaks down, you've definitely got to have discipline and you've got to have the work rate to kind of track back then to quickly turn attack into defence. And it's so much more about being than just the back four in being able to defend and defend
absolutely.
well.
And what you want to say, and I thought Aaron Ramsey was the perfect example of this yesterday, but that you saw the example all over the pitch. But Aaron Ramsey, when he had the ball, was kind of breaking at speed. You know, he's got that kind of... He's got that ability, a bit like a kind of smaller version of Diaby, to be honest, to kind of take the ball away from players over 15, 20 yards. You know, it might not be the obviously the quickest, but he's got this kind of power. But anyway, he will break at pace going forward with the ball. When we lose the ball, he runs back at the same sprint. Yeah. He commits as much when we don't have the ball as he commits when we do, and that's, for me, that's the secret. That's the secret of successful defending.
There was a stage in the second half in Montpellier where, honestly, they tried to go forward. It had broken down. They were under siege in the second half, and who was the deepest player back on the left-hand side? But Lucas Podolski. Yeah. I do think, you know, he's terrific. He really digs in, and you can tell that he really has a deep affection for the club.
No, absolutely, and he sets an example. There's an established international player who's, you know, played over 100 times for his country. If he works that hard, then everybody in the team knows that fella's. Like I was saying on last week's show, he might come out on the pitch. You know, he doesn't come out on the pitch going, "I'm going to be the best player." He is coming out on the pitch going, "No one's going to work harder than I do."
Absolutely.
Nobody does. Asif is in Enfield. Asif, welcome to the home of football. Good to hear from you.
Thanks very much. Yeah, I rang out 2 reasons. Firstly, it's still buzzing from yesterday. I think I've seen the highlights 3-4 times already since I've been back from work.
Who would have thought you could get so excited by a draw? But it was the quality of the performance was really good, wasn't it?
Oh, it was brilliant. I mean, when I was sitting there watching it, even though we went 1-0 down, I thought we're still going to score 1-2 goals. Yeah, I was so confident that where we were playing, we were going to do something to them. They were much better. But the other thing was about what rang up, that was Theo. I think we should definitely sign him up. I mean, I'm a season ticket holder now, so I'm watching play. People just moan about the guy because whenever you see other teams playing against him, they always put 2 people against him. And it's a lot hard for him to get past the line. And if Arsenal played with his strength, which is basically pace, push the ball past the defence, get him running onto the ball, he will score more than what he scored. Especially, I mean, what was his stats? 12 goals from the wing.
Yeah.
I mean, what other players on that in the Premier League?
No.
You know, and Wenger, I think definitely come the cup game coming up on Wednesday. I think you should put him up front, see what he can do. Let the fans see what he can do, because a lot of fans just keep moaning about him when he's a brilliant player. And I think he definitely signed this guy up. I think his attitude's brilliant. He's a class character, and he's definitely Arsenal through and through. And he should definitely give him a chance up front before Gervinho.
I tell you what, don't know about we can argue the toss about that. Absolutely want him in. You know, you want them both on the premises, don't you? And you want the choice. The other thing about Theo, of course, absolutely proven, is when it comes to big games, he really does it.
Yeah, he does.
You know, the better the game, the better.
I just think
if you get into a cup final, He'll do it for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's spot on there. I mean, you know, this is a season ticket holder, so he would have been at the Emirates last season for Spurs. Anyone, right, and Asim would have been there in that stadium will know what Theo Walcott adds to the team and to Arsenal. He was taking some stick from the Arsenal fans.
Yeah, absolutely.
Came through it and transformed the game.
Yeah.
You know, he was pivotal in winning that game for Arsenal. And what a game it was to win. And what I just feel it set the tone for the.
No, absolutely. That was it. That was it. That was the season. Yeah.
In clinching third place. Theo Walcott was at the heart of it.
Yeah.
So Asim was spot on. And so for the rest, please spare me the arguments on Theo Walcott's value to the team and the squad.
You can think back to another absolutely key game when it happened. It was the game away to Chelsea when it went. It was absolutely outstanding. You don't see many people give Ashley Cole a run, and he absolutely ran him ragged that afternoon at Stamford Bridge. No, like I say, I'm a big fan. Let's get it sorted out, shall we? Hey, look, sometimes it'd be better if this lasted about 3 hours rather than an hour and a half.
It's not that time already, is it?
Probably. Yeah. Jeez. Well, mind you, you did doze off for 15 minutes, John. I thought it'd be rude to wake you. So, hey, look, we've got a competition winner. Delighted to say that you have won a copy of EA Sports FIFA 13. I asked you, against whom did Laurent Koscielny score his first Arsenal goal? The answer was Bolton Wanderers. As it happens, it was in a 4-1 win here at the Emirates. And thanks to everybody who entered, Sonny Matu from Telford is the winner, and a copy of that will be on its way to you as soon as those boxes fly open come Friday. Congratulations, Sonny. More good stuff to be won over the course of the next few weeks, so do stick with us. Mind you, in fact, we've got another one to be won next week. Actually, I should say next week. Unfortunately, I've got a film festival to attend to. There's a bomb gone off under kicking and screaming, John. Yeah, I run this football film festival once a year, and next Monday night, unfortunately, I can't be here. However, the good news is that the excellent Dan Roebuck will be. I was going to say, who couldn't fill your shoes? Oh, Dan Roebuck is top man. Make sure you join Dan. He's with Amy Lawrence next Monday night, by which time we'll have seen off that lot from SW6. Big spenders one Sunday, big spenders the next. We don't have to spend big, but we do play some football. Thanks very much indeed for your calls, for your emails, and for your tweets and Facebook messages. Thanks to everybody who entered the competition too. Good Monday night to be thinking about the Arsenal and thinking about what happened the day before. Can't think of anybody I'd rather be sat here thinking about it with than you, John Cross.
Bless you, Tom. Thank you, and likewise.
Actually, no, I can't. But it's quite a short list, John.
You already dropped Amy Lawrence in the conversation. You're not going to break my heart, are you?
Absolutely wouldn't dream of breaking you. No, great to have you with us, John, as always. John Cross from The Mirror, always a welcome guest on the Fans Forum. Looking forward to this week. Be a great night at the Home of Football on Wednesday. If you've got your tickets sorted, happy days, because there's always a very special atmosphere at early games in the League Cup here, both because of what happens on the pitch, but also what happens around the ground. Hope you enjoy that one. And then it's a return to Matters Premier League against Chelsea next Saturday lunchtime, one way or another. It's going to be a big week for the Arsenal. I'm sure the team will be ready. I'm sure we will play our part too. After Sunday, it's one of those where anything suddenly seems possible. Maybe it is. Up the Arsenal.